hustle culture? Are we seeing the beginning of the end of hustle culture? Following the tragic death of Ernst Young employee Anna Sebastian Perayil, there has been outrage and a renewed debate surrounding contemporary corporate work culture. Anna's death has prompted widespread discussions about the pressures and expectations placed on employees in today's corporate world, particularly in relation to the glorification of hustle culture. Anna's mother, Anita Sebastian, had made some serious allegations against the company EY, claiming that her daughter did not receive any compensatory time off or weekends off during her tenure. Following the media uproar surrounding Anna's tragic death, Anita reported that she finally received the company's full and final settlement on the 18th of September, only after media pressure. According to Anita, Anna's offer letter explicitly stated that in the event of her untimely demise, EY would provide a payment of 3 times her loss-drawn CTC or cost to company. In a response to the Labour Department, SRBC EY's representative claimed that they had deposited 28.5 lakh rupees into Anna's account for her employment from March to July 2024. The firm maintained that it had provided double remuneration and compensatory time off for additional work. However, Anita refuted these assertions, insisting that the funds received by her family were part of the company's policy after the unfortunate demise of an employee, not remuneration for extra work. Meanwhile, addressing the glorification of hustle culture, Swiggy Marketplace CEO Rohit Kapoor recently challenged the notion of needing to do crazy hours for work, advocating for a healthier balance, while acknowledging that hard work is still necessary to achieve success. Kapoor's comments comes amidst growing concerns about workplace pressures and toxic work cultures, especially in the light of Anna's tragic death. So are we seeing the beginning of the end of hustle culture? To understand that, we have a very special guest joining us. We have Mr. Prabir Jha, distinguished HR strategist, founder and CEO of Prabir Jha People Advisory. Prabir, thank you so much for taking time to be with us here on In Your Interest. I'm going to begin by asking you this: the tragic death of Anna, and you're seeing the reactions to what Swiggy's food marketplace CEO Rohit Kapoor had to say. There is huge awareness and probably enlightenment about how to go about conducting the work of your life, at the same time living your life.
So, Krishna, thank you. Always lovely being on your show, and it's very redeeming that Rohit has talked what he did, and my compliments to him. But since you talked about, is it the end of the hustle culture? Unfortunately, I don't see that happening, because the biggest challenge that I see in corporates is there's no problem of talking the talk. The issue is about walking the talk. And I think that hypocrisy of leadership is what really concerns me the more I see it from the outside, and I continue to observe stories, episodes, and experiences. So it is sad, it's unfortunate. It is redeeming to have someone like Rohit talk about it. But why only him? Why not many others? Why not 100 other leaders? So one is just the quantum of talk. It's a very, very small beginning. But I think talking the talk is the easier part. Walking the talk is very important. And from my own experience, Krishna, as a CHRO of some of India's largest companies, 20 years ago almost, or at least 17, 18 years ago, we had a similar issue where socially I would be told that why in your then company, people don't even have their weekends really free. And when I say walking the talk is one of the big things I did, I changed the leave norms. Employees also sometimes hoard leave because they get it as an encashed amount, and which is tax-free at the end of their career. But it's also important for us to send a signal. We will not want you to look at it as a financial incentive. You need to rejuvenate. You need to spend time with the family. And the same words which Rohit said, I remember 18 years ago, I was talking to the employees and telling them why it is important. Or when in Reliance, I moved it from a 6-day week to a 5-day week. So I think a lot more of action has to happen. I never did I called a meeting in my entire career on the weekend, or I never sat into a late meeting, that I chaired, never, ever in my life. And I don't think that these were small jobs or easy jobs. So I would like to see a lot more of actioning, demonstrated actioning by CEOs and leaders in the C-suite rather than just the talk. I think that's very important.
Right. I also, talking about big CEOs, their statements, you saw what Harsh Goenka of RPG Group had to say. He spoke about how in the early part of your career, you should look to learn more rather than earn more. And then you got slammed by some of the audience, which said that, you come from a position of privilege. You can talk about learning, but then so many of us, overwhelming majority of us don't come from the privilege, and we need every penny that we earn. And you see what went on with the compensation towards Anna Sebastian Perayil and the controversy surrounding that as well. So clearly, money worries, are an important factor for young people, in the workforce to continue enduring toxic work culture.
So Krishna, you're bang on. It takes two to tango. So while companies have reasons to be blamed, companies also realize that in India, it's a very talent rich market. So, if a guy leaves the company or unfortunately there would be, a demise, it will not take 5 minutes to replace you. And this is what my dad told me 20 years ago. Exactly the same thing, that you guys don't take leave, you don't do this and that. But the company will not take 5 minutes to replace your position. So it's also a choice of the individual employee. They don't do enough of scrutiny about the culture of the company, and there is a trade-off. And the fact of the matter is, it's literally from the frying pan to the fire in most cases, because most companies, unfortunately, have celebrated this because that's been the role model leadership they have experienced. So when they become a leader, it's the same thing. So it is an element of choice. And many years later, when I now talk to my children who are now working in similar environments, and they tell me, Dad, it's very easy for you to tell this today, but you know how it is. But it's not so. One of my big regrets is, why did I have to slave the hours that I did? And with the benefit of hindsight, you realize the trade-offs are just not worth it. But unfortunately, the peer pressure, the societal ways of judging you, even the family judging you, forces youngsters to kind of continue to be on the treadmill, which is a very lovely situation for a manager, because he or she can continue to call you at 2 o'clock in the morning and get you on a call, push long evenings, the weekends are not yours. And so many companies are guilty of this, but you're absolutely right. It takes the other side also to accept. And if you are really good, at the end of the day, walk out and try and follow or do the trade-offs that matter to you. So it is actually a very delicate balance between both sides. You can't have the cake and eat it too.
Right. But the fact of the matter is that, post the pandemic, we're living in that post-pandemic world when there's greater understanding, especially from people entering the workforce, already in the workforce, on what they value in life. Once upon a time, if somebody wanted to just climb up the corporate ladder, put in those, burn the midnight oil just to climb up the corporate ladder, those aspirations have changed. Clearly, millennials don't seem to be having the, millennials and Gen Z specifically speaking, Gen Z specifically speaking, do not have those aspirations of just wanting to climb up the corporate ladder one way or the other. People's approach and aspirations from a job has changed dramatically, haven't they?
They have, and I would be the last person to kind of disagree with you. But having said that, if that were the case, and the companies which in COVID time said that we are going to give anywhere, work from anywhere as a permanent option to employees, they've all rescinded that conveniently. Everyone wants their employees back. Otherwise, their increments are at stake, their promotions are at stake. You just have to read the papers. And these were the same marquee organizations who talked all the big talk about, how this has changed the world. So my issue is, it's back to my favorite theme of hypocrisy of leadership. So while people may value, the question is, can they step away? And if so, go to which place? There are very few exceptions which allow you truly the flex of time, place, and at the end of the day, don't hold it against you. So, it is still a very chicken and egg story. Who should kind of start first? Should it be the employees or should it be the companies? And actually, finally, it comes down to the power of economics. Whoever has the upper hand at that time kind of plays it thick, and whoever is not in a position to negotiate flexes at that time. So generationally, yes, at a very a broad level, but if you start breaking it down to individuals, the same people also want to build their careers. They also want to grow up higher. And the fact is that someone or the other snapping at your heels. So in India, we have a particularly different problem because talent supply is not your biggest problem. And unfortunately for many companies, which is back to that 70-hour debate, which on your channel also we had opportunities of discussing, companies still value hours at work rather than the quality of outcome in the hours that you spend. Until that mindset changes, which, if you ask me, we are miles away still, because the CEOs may speak whatever they speak, but the reality is it's all about blind hours at work. We are not productive companies in most cases. Our meetings are not productive. There's a lot of FOMO about sitting through meetings. And, that entire mess, we can keep talking about the millennials, et cetera. But, the problem is whatever it is.
Right. Prabir Jha, they're giving us that very important perspective. Prabir, as always, pleasure having you here on the show. Thank you so much for taking time out to be this year.